We're here in
inside
saan ba to? Where is this? Lastos. A place in this is a place in Holland. Valid during easy handicam operation. Ano yan, okay.
It's obviously not the only river in the country, but the most important. In fact, the Danube has its source in Germany as well, in the Black Forest area, but it's not a very important river until the River Inn, which has its source in Switzerland, flows into it. The River Inn, on which Innsbruck is located. It literally means bridge over the River Inn, Innsbruck, and so. The River Inn is important for the Danube, actually, because once it meets it, well, then the Danube becomes a decent alpine-styled river system. Before that, it's almost like a little creek, actually, through the southern part. So, we are now in Germany, the Bundesrepublik of Germany, or the Federal Republic of Germany, and we can say that now. We've been able to say it since 1990. It seems like yesterday, actually. I know it's 15 years ago, but it's you know, when you actually live through an experience like that, it's very difficult to think that it's not like yesterday, because it was such a major thing that happened in Europe. Of course, when you'd been traveling around Europe and doing tours and talking about East Germany and West Germany, and then suddenly it's all changed. It's an amazing thing. So we tend to call 1989 the year of the Velvet Revolution, which is a rather nice name for it, because the other great year of revolutions was 1848, and then 1989 we have to call a year of revolutions, but we like to call it the year of the Velvet Revolution because it was soft, it wasn't harsh, and of course Eastern Europe opened up that year, and 1990 then came the reunification of Germany. We call it a reunification because we can't say it was the first time it was unified, but Germany's history is quite checkered, certainly in that regard, and it has not been united very many times. In fact, I remember a book called, it was like a guidebook called Continental Europe, and it was produced by a company called Insight Guides, which had nothing to do with cohesion, and it became a number of very, very loosely bound states, about 39 loosely bound states. And so the next time that there was any type of unity, once again a little bit of a forced one, was in 1871 after something called the Franco-Prussian War, and the Prussian Kingdom was proclaimed at that time. Now Prussia Prussia doesn't exist any longer as a state of Germany. Part of Prussia is actually Poland these days, and part of it what was East Germany. In fact, most of East Germany was made up of what was Prussia and Pomerania, and but in those days Prussia became quite a huge militant, so you might want to actually buy a postcard. So therefore it became a place of great pilgrimage, because people came to see the relics of the three magi. And in fact, even the coat of arms of the city represents the three magi. You have the three crowns in the coat of arms, and then you have 11 flames, and that's another story. I always joke about it because they say it's got to do with St. Ursula. St. Ursula was martyred here way back in the 4th century, and we're not sure whether she was martyred with 11 virgins or 11,000 virgins. I mean, in this day and age, it definitely would be 11,000, obviously, but the 11 flames represent, we're not sure whether it's 1,000 virgins or just one virgin, but that's the coat of arms of the city. Okay, and then you see just along here there's a cable section. The picture, no wait, because we're going to cross. You'll get a better picture of it just along here. You see that there's a little cable car. It's just for scenic purposes across the bridge. No, we're going to cross the bridge over here. That's where you'll get your better shot. We're not coming back this way, I'm afraid. We're going along the river after that. Here to the left it says Claudius. Derme. See Claudius, the spa of Claudius. There are some ancient Roman remains still here. We're just about to cross the River Rhine, and this is where you'll get your picture. I'm afraid you'll get some of these flags in, but they're not always there. There you are, see to the left? Spectacular. Can you imagine all the bombing that took place? Did you see those postcards? Isn't it an amazing thing? An image to have in your mind of virtually everything destroyed, and there's that cathedral still standing. I had one guy that was telling me that he actually came here in the 50s, just after the war, to do business, because there was a lot of business to do. And there were not many places to stay, obviously, but he still remembers looking out of the hotel room, the very basic hotel room, in the morning, and that's all you saw around you, just rubble everywhere. And then the cathedral. So it became quite an important place for a time, and then it diminished. Once the great pilgrimages ended, it diminished in importance, and it didn't really pick up in importance again until the 19th century when the steamer traffic started, and then it became a relatively important place again. This is where 4711 Eau de Cologne comes from, and you can buy it just about everywhere. In fact, the little house where it was first produced is still there as well. The tale is, they used to have lots of these healing waters, these curative waters. They were everywhere. But more than heal you, they would usually kill you, because there were lots of witch doctors around in those days. And during the time of Napoleon, he did a lot of wonderful things. Napoleon created a very organized control around Europe, and he created street names and numbering of houses, and he also banned all of these waters, these supposed healing curative waters that were killing everyone. But this particular one, which was actually produced by a young couple who'd been given the recipe from a monk, a friend of the family who was a monk that had found it in the monastery, they were producing this healing or curative water as well. The big difference was all the other waters were supposed to be ingested or drunk, whereas this one here was an external water. And so it's the only reason that it survived the ban, and it lives on today. That's 4711 Eau de Cologne. Of course, that is French for water from Cologne, or water of Cologne. And 4711 is the number of the little house where they used to produce it. The couple used to produce it. 4711. Okay, so we must leave here at 1 o'clock. It's absolutely imperative that we're not late, because it means that we've got a 3 o'clock boat. And as soon as we become late, because they won't keep the boat for us. Well, they definitely don't. They just go because they've got things to do. So therefore, we must leave here at 1 o'clock precisely. Not a minute after.
Ma. Sumukura.
Hindi, pagkataas ko lang. Ako. Yung paligid. Kaya pagkataas sa dulo. Balik mo sa ano? Balik mo sa ano ba? Balik mo sa ano? Hindi yung right.
Balik sa'yo. This is the Cologne Cathedral in Germany. This is the famous Cologne Cathedral in Germany.
Teka, this is the famous Cologne Cathedral.
Oh yes, I did.
All these different statues and reliefs across the front. The other side, to the back, around that way, we've actually got some fantastic line buttresses are a necessary part of the there was a natural thrust type of physics. So therefore they had to hold them up by these flying buttresses on the side. That's a typical Gothic terrace and axe as well. And around the back, and then also around the other side you've got this romantic original Roman structures are actually around there.
The famous Cologne Cathedral that was bombed during the Second World War by Hitler. Ano.
Yes, yes.
This is the famous Cologne Cathedral. We are here in Germany and we are having fun. Okay, mapuno ko naman yung ano. Balik sa akin.
Balik doon sa itaas.
Cut.
Cologne Cathedral. You see there, that side is the museum, and this is the right side. We see the Cologne Cathedral. This is where it was bombed during the time of. Who is that? Sino na yun? Si Hitler, yes, Hitler. Okay. Now, at the background is the museum. Hello there. Hi there, people in the Philippines. Hi there. Dad, saan nandito ka? Para nakita mo rin yung Germany. Okay. Teddy Ray. Hi Teddy Ray. And Chicky, Rudy, Mia, Tanya, Miguel, Raul, Cheat. How are you there in the Philippines?
Hello, we are here in Cologne, Germany. On this side is the famous Cologne Cathedral that was founded by Adolf Hitler. The place is so beautiful, it's so warm. It's like Manila, excuse me. It's okay. Ikaw ang gumalaw. Bakit ka magpumalaw? Ikaw ang umikot. Ikaw ang umikot. Ikaw ang umikot. Over there is the museum, the famous museum. Ang Fang Museum. Okay na, cut.
This is the shop. This is the shop side. Cologne Cathedral.
Ano kaya si Alma? Thank you, Alma. Kung hindi kami makakakain dito. No? Napakamahal na pagkain. 7 euros. Nakunin ko lang ng ito, hindi ko maubos.
That central spire to the riverside, that central spire. That's why you've got those fantastic flying buttresses at the rear. But otherwise, it's a fairly modern townscape, as you can see. 262 air raids is quite a lot. So most of the city was destroyed. And you saw those postcards, which are quite interesting to have a look at. Fortress there, the yellowish coloured one on the other side of the river. It's known as Ehrenbreitstein because although we know the Romans had a garrison there 2,000 years ago, the garrison that was built thereafter that was built by Count Prince Ehrenbreit. So Ehrenbreitstein means Ehrenbreit rock or Ehrenbreit stone. And then over the years that was destroyed as well by French troops, and it was rebuilt by the Prussians over a 17-year period, and then never really used in war after that. It was used by the Americans quite a lot as a recreational centre in World War II. This is Koblenz, population of about 100,000. Its name is derived from the Latin confluentia. It's the confluence of the rivers Moselle and River Rhine. And this was known as Little Paris for a time, because during the French Revolution, Louis XVI, who was the last of the French monarchs, his brothers, who were the Counts of Artois, so we, although it's still very pleasantly located, we don't get to see anything of the old Koblenz. It has a very nice monument down by the confluence, literally, called the Deutsches Eck, the German corner. So therefore, the French troops came marching in. This was at the end of the 17th century. They came, this was not the only time, they came later as well, but particularly at that time they razed nearly the whole area. For the same thing to be happening in and around England at the same time. There are a lot of follies built in and around England at the same sort of period. And so they bought many of these ruins and then they built onto them in what they assumed to be the same style, because they could never really tell, because most of these never had plans, or certainly they would have in the beginning, but they didn't have plans that were found. So some of them are very well done, some of them are not very well done, but it makes for a very, very pretty scene for us to be travelling along this gorge section and be able to have a look at all these little castles. Now these castles over the years have been sold on and on and on, and some of them have probably been sold on for all of $50,000, others have been sold on for $1 million. But they are different things today. Some are restaurants, some are hostels, some are discotheques, some are just cafes. And so they are all sorts of different functions, but they're commercial premises and they're run privately. Yeah. So here, if you look to the left-hand side, you'll see, firstly we saw a black cross on a white background, and then you'll see just little black marks on a white background. You'll see 5 of them to be precise, and then you're going to see a number, black letters, black digits actually, on a white background. What is it, 585? Over to the left-hand side. That means that the River Rhine has flowed 585 kilometers from its source, and that is displayed every single kilometer. So as we go along, do you see the white plaques over there, and you've got a black mark on them? That's the 100-meter mark. So as we go along, then we're going to see a black cross on a white background, which is the 500-meter mark. And then remember, we're driving upstream now, so therefore the next number that we see is going to be 584 kilometers from its source, because we're going in the direction toward its source, not away from it. And it's over there on the left-hand side, through the trees. I think I'm right. 584 kilometers. So you get these lovely little towns along here, and you'll get a few different stories as well. Stories like Castle Edenfels, Castle Drachenfels, the Dragon Castle, where Siegfried had bathed himself in the blood of the dragon. But unfortunately, just on his back had fallen a little leaf, and just there, the blood of the dragon never pierced his skin. So when he was involved in a duel, it was the one spot where the sword could go in, and he was killed. We cast them into the river and turned them to stone. And this is the one, this is the Drachenfels coming up that you see over on the other side of the river there. And Drachenfels means the dragon's blood. And this is where the story of Siegfried unfolds. But you can see very, very clearly, for example, with this one, how it's obviously not from the same period. But it's so beautiful, and they're so beautifully located, that it really doesn't matter whether they're follies or not. There's an old silver mine behind it, which is closed, but they still have those stumps there. You probably wonder how they access them. Well, actually, it's quite easy to do so, but it's not obvious from the riverside. You access from the land side, and that's why the road actually winds its way up from the back. So it's not very obvious for the riverside. Of course, you weren't supposed to have access from the riverside. That was the whole point. Right, so our boat is, it leaves from a little place called Boppard, which is delightful as well. So if we get there early, well then if the boat's already there, we're just wine producing region in Germany. They have something called Qualitätswein here. Qualitätswein, it's a little bit like the Appellation Contrôlée in France, or the DOCG wines in Italy, which means controlled vintages, a control of quality. That's the Drachenfels over to the left. Schloss is the term for castle. Schloss. You'll also see a couple of towns along here when we're cruising along with the word Bad, B-A-D, in front. Remember what I told you this morning? Bad Salzig, for example. It would have been a spa town once a time. So if you want to look at, would you like to look at, there are a couple of stores there. I mean, I'm not going to take you in, you can go look yourselves. There's a store which sells fantastic steins, really wonderful steins. And there's another store which sells cuckoo clocks. And actually there's the largest freestanding cuckoo clock in the world outside on the street. And it's a really lovely little Rieslings. The Rieslings here, and then the Moselles, of course, along by the River Moselle. So what will happen is we will board at Boppard, and then we will go down to a place called Sangoa. So we're actually going upriver though, and then at Sangoa, you'll see the Lorelei Rock whilst you're actually on the cruise, and you'll get some excellent shots because it's a great vantage point, and you've got a fantastic day for it. Really, it's wonderful for this part of the world. And then, as I say, it's going to be an hour and 20 minutes approximately. I mean, count for an hour and 20 minutes. It might be slightly longer, but you know, you might forget something on board. That's disastrous as well. So I would just take your cameras, some money, and that's really all you need, actually, to be honest. Coal, hydrocarbons, petrochemicals, just about anything that needs to be moved. It's such an excellent.
Ang lapit mo. Hindi, ang lapit mo. Ay, zoom kita. Ang maliit.
Kahit nakaupo ka na lang, kahit upo ka na lang.
Ha?
Kahit upo.
Opo.
Diyan.
Ayoko nakaupo. Desiree and Chiki, Trudy, Tanya, Miguel, Raul. I wish you were here. I-follow na lang natin ang boat, hindi ko na move.
Tapos ang balik ko sa'yo. Talaga yun. Tapos sa akin naman ulit. Tapos cut ko na. Zoom mo, tapos baba mo ulit, baba mo sa baba. Sa akin ulit. Tapos cut.
This point, ladies and gentlemen, we can see three castles all at the same time. This is the only point in the River Rhine where you can see three castles at the same time.
There.
In front of us, to the left, we see the Cat Castle. To the right of us, we see the Rheinpfalz Castle. And directly behind us, again on the left-hand side, we see the Maus Castle.
我的游船即将驶达圣高阿，你将看到河右岸圣高阿建于公元570年，左岸遥遥相望的是圣高阿4号星。您现在身处的是莱茵河唯一一处同时可以观望3座城堡的地方，右上左后方的鼠堡与猫堡遥遥相望。
One's paying attention. I don't know what's going on up here.
And then go. Oh, doon lumipat ka. Oh. Okay. Off.
Oh, quick. Yan ang background.
Hi there folks, we have just arrived from a tour of Germany and this is where we are billeted in Germany. It is Ramada Hotel. It's cozy, but look. Come on, let's go. It's pink. Pink for both of us. It's a pink room, pink bedsheet. This is Ramada Hotel. And there is, this is overlooking the hotel. That is Excelsior. Oh, nice. Very nice.
Okay. Pwede tayong ano yun close the... Oh, what's that? Very big. Let it go. How do you open this?
Sehe ich das richtig?
So we're going to be heading in a southerly direction from Ulm, direction of Fussen. F-U-S-S-E-N, Fussen.
Just passing.
Toward Kempten, and then we veer off on Fussen off this motorway. Changes quite a lot scenery-wise, because as I say, it starts to become firstly hilly and then mountainous, and we start to see a different type of agricultural rurality around us, so it starts to become more of a stock farming area. And it's very pretty as well, because they've got a habit down in this part of the country of painting onto the facades of buildings, and quite a lot of them are religious facades or religious depictions, quite often scenes from the Bible, from the various testaments, or alternatively things that actually went on in the building. For example, if it was a baker, a very special, rather independent part of the country, and I actually find Bavaria probably one of the loveliest parts of Germany, and I think I like its independence. It has a slight air about it, almost a whiff of superiority. Certainly in Munich there's a sophisticated air of arrogance, which I think is quite nice sometimes, and there you can see why when you go to a city like that, because it feels like it was the only one really that I can think of in Germany that has a feeling of having been a royal residence, and indeed it was, of course, for a very long time. The Wittelsbach family reigned for a very long time, hundreds of years. And so if we look, we can see there are interesting border regions. There is the border, of course, with Austria to the south, and then there's the border with the Czech Republic as well, because this is the most southeastern of the Länder, or the states of Germany. And Bavaria has always had some form of independence. Even today they tend to play their own national anthem at the end of things like television broadcasting and radio broadcasts. And of course, up until World War I, they had their own army as well, as I had mentioned to you. So it's really from 1805, when Napoleon granted them the status of kingdom, that they retained right through until the end of World War I, 1918. And so Hitler did base himself here, although of course he was born in Austria. In fact, if you go south from here, basically, you end up, well, or south from Munich really, rather than from here actually, you end up near Salzburg, which is in Austria. It's where Mozart came from. And near there is a place called Bad Reichenau. Remember the word Bad again, B-A-D. So it was a thermal spa area. And of course it was a great salt mining area. They still actually mine salt there, but of course in those days it was of extreme importance in the very early days when the archbishops of Salzburg also held a secular title of prince. So they were important from two points of view: an ecclesiastical point of view to do with the power of the church, and a secular point of view to do with the power of the administration of the empire. So prince archbishops, very, very wealthy prince archbishops, because they had a monopoly to the salt mining trade. And in fact, strangely enough, Munich developed on the basis of that salt mining as well, because there was a gentleman called Duke Henry the Lion who built the first bridge across the river Isar, on which Munich is located, for people that were carrying salt. And then he started to extract a toll from this bridge. And from those very humble beginnings, came Munich, which is München, of course, in German, and it's really named after the Münchener Kindel, which is the little monk child. München basically means monk, and there was a monastery located there, and so hence the foundations of the city. It is the third largest city in the country after Berlin and Hamburg, with a population of some 1.4 million, and is a center of trade, manufacturing and industry, and is number one certainly to do with things like the fashion industry here in Germany. And that's why I call them mountain cousins, the Bavarians and the Tyroleans. Because the Tyroleans on the Austrian side are very much similar type of thing, very mountain communities, farming communities, even have similar type of national costume.
Probably get it out.
Popular part of the country for holiday makers, very popular part of Europe for holiday makers, both during winter and summer. Of course, during winter it is a skiing area, so therefore it's a popular winter holiday destination. And then during the summer it becomes a great center of activity-based holidays. So fantastic hiking trails, great mountain biking, canoeing, whitewater rafting, and then the various resorts which cater, of course, during the winter time, cater very much for the summertime crowd as well. And so you'll have swimming pools, and even many of the lakeside areas actually act as little lido areas. When people go swimming or sunbathing, we'll definitely see that today down by the Weißensee, Lake White. See, that's quite evident as well. If you look up, you see some of the ski runs. More cows. and more farmhouses. You can tell the really old farmhouses, if they still exist, because the steps or the stairs were always on the outside of the building. The bottom, they were quite large buildings because the ground floor area was for the feedlot cattle during the winter time, and then you lived on the living premises were usually on the first floor, which was very effective because of course the cows gave off heat, and heat rises, and therefore it's a natural warming effect for your living area. A bit smelly, but very effective. Bavaria is almost entirely Catholic, and so is Austria. So both Austria and Bavaria, I always say, are very mountainous, very Baroque. Not broke, but Baroque, if you know that term. Baroque, quite ornate. And very, very, very Catholic. Bastion of Catholicism. Now you'll get a good indication of what I was talking about in terms of painted facades through here as well. See on the left, did you see by the windows on the left? No? And then some of them they've actually worked with the wood, the carvings. And some of these lovely old shutters like the red and white ones up here on the right hand side. But then the delightful ones usually have window boxes, window flower boxes, and then these lovely painted areas around the windows. You see the roof, like the one on this one on the right hand side, you can see that it's all catered for the snow that falls. There's another one up here to the right hand side, you can see the little barriers there. This is a funny little town just purely because of the name actually. It's W-A-N-K. Funk, exactly, yeah. But most people in English wouldn't pronounce it like that. W-A-N-K. So I usually tell people, yes, this is where they all come from. is just beautiful, no traffic, and like really old. It's been like that for 900 years, 1,000 years. No one's touched it, and it's people. It's there, and it's working. People live there. It's not like it's really particularly beautiful. It's just that a lot of people, they want to see somewhere in Tuscany, in other cities. They want to see like one of the country towns, and it's a very difficult one to get to. And that's really what it is. Well, it's a trip of about 3 hours, so it does take some of the time away from it, depending on what you want to do there. But you will have time to shop. But then if you want to go to one of the museums or something. Yeah, I think there is actually.
Ano?
To come concentrate, this is Ludwig's castle, Mad Ludwig's castle. Focus mo naman ako.
Okay.
Germany. That's the famous Ludwig Castle in Germany. See? The castle up there. If we go up there, we have no more time to go to Austria. Okay.
Go.
This is the famous Ludwig's castle. Focus mo yung mukha ko, please. This is the famous Ludwig's castle. Kapag ka rito, baka basbasan ka. We are here in Bavaria, Germany. We passed by
Bavaria,
Cologne,
Bavaria.
Germany. This is the Mad King Ludwig's castle. What is designed and patterned its architecture and structure through this magnificent castle. Unfortunately, we were not able to climb up because we do not have enough time.
You want to see? Are you focusing on the Ludwig's Castle?
Ako kuna mo ako.
Go.
Go.
I am here standing with the famous Ludwig's castle. It was built by Mad King Ludwig. Walt Disney patterned and structured its Disneyland from this famous fairy tale castle. We are here in Bavaria, Germany, and we're having a great time. It's June 23 here in Germany, and we'll be passing in Innsbruck later. Kindly focus the castle. I love it here. Zoom mo na siya. Kindly zoom at the mode. Kindly zoom at the mode. Then, okay, for more information, kindly zoom and zoom my face. So,
Naku. Wait. Zoom.
okay, finish? Nako.
Oh, okay, focus.
Yes, we're having a great time. Edna Mode and I were having a great time.
I'm not Edna Mode. Tanya, tignan mo naman si Eboyo. Tito Eboyo, ine-Edna Mode ako.
We're having a great time. So this is the famous fairy tale castle. As I've said, this is the most beautiful castle in the world. And we're so fortunate to see it live. Thank you very much. focus natin siya.
Ikaw na mag-focus. Ako muna. Okay. Tanya, how are you there in the Philippines? I am here now, right in front of the Ludwig's Castle, the most famous in the world. Hi Tanya, Mia and Miguel, Daddy, Teddy Ray, and Chicky. Look at that. Cheat.
Raul.
Raul, nakakalimutan kita, pero hindi ko
Raul.
Okay.
Ako ba? Hihirit pa ako. Go na.
Go.
Hello Cheryl, hello Logan, hello. I met Bigfoot on the first day. I'll just tell you more stories about Bigfoot. Anyway, I am here standing in the famous fairy tale castle. Okay. Actually, I just don't.
You will zoom.
Sa yung film, I will zoom na lang. Gusto ko may pa-Bapi, may pa-Bigfoot pa, no? Yeah, I just met Bigfoot. And this is the famous fairy tale castle. Ludwig's Castle. Walt Disney patterned this for Walt Disney because of the Mad King Ludwig's Castle. There's Walt Disney. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I hope I could live there.
You go there because you are mad. Like, he's not mad at all. He is richer than King Louis XIV.
Makapagpaalam lang. Okay. The tape is about to mauubos na ang tape. Hello,
Tinagalog
Germany.
na.
I love you, Germany.